that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
Hello and welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with my boys Isaiah.
What's up?
And Gavin.
What's good?
And super fucking stoked today to talk about the season finale of Tower of God. This is Tower of God, episode 13. Name of the episode is Tower of God. How very fitting. Holy shit. Lots to talk about here. And let's just jump right into it with the conversation that everyone wants to start hearing, Rachel bashing. So if anyone would like to cast the first stone. Dude, so, I mean, the first, I would say half of the episode, maybe even like 3/4 of the episode here, almost the whole episode, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, was Rachel's story, right? Like at least a expedited version of everything that's happened since the beginning when she was teleported away from Bam and up into the point now where they are going to ascend the tower and she's still feigning that she's fucking crippled at this point. So everyone gives her brownie points. Go ahead.
It's so funny too, because before this episode started, like when the last one ended, I was like, all right, guys, just fucking give me a reason. Like, just tell me why, Rachel. Tell me, like, explain to me why you did what you did, and maybe, just maybe, there's no promise, but maybe I will come to a path of understanding. And now that entire episode was basically her whole explanation, I am not satisfied. I'm 100% not about this, and I actually hate her more than I did last week. So, fuck Rachel.
Crazy.
I'm
and
officially
apparently
starting.
That height grows, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I'm doubling down. I'm starting a whole line of T-shirts that I'm selling. Fuck Rachel T-shirts. Hashtag Bam's the man. You know, that's where we're at right now, because that's how I feel.
The man.
No, dude, it's amazing because I was the same way that Isaiah, like what he just mentioned. I fucking hated her more, but I could just picture Isaiah literally looking at the screen, just like screaming, "That's not good enough, Rachel. That's not good enough, you bitch." He's just going ham.
That's literally what I was doing. Because like every time she would say something, and every time she would give an explanation, I'm like, okay, but then you got over your bullshit and you learned like how to fucking act right? And then she'd be like, no, and then I wanted to kill him more. And I'm like, God fucking damn it, woman. Like, get a hold of yourself. What the fuck?
So I'm actually curious to talk about this in like more fleshed out, right? Not just that we hate her, because we all do.
Yeah, why not?
We could all agree, right? And apparently, according to comments that I've read, like the hate only grows. So I'm like, oh, great. She's got to be one of the most unpopular characters or whatever in like all of anime soon. She's got to take a ranking. But anyway, so it's interesting, right? So this is actually cool though, the whole backstory and kind of seeing, really fleshing out her character, right, in the worst kind of ways. So right off the bat, right, we replay scenes from the beginning of the show where Bam takes her sash. He's like, don't go. He tackles her to the ground. She's like, I gotta go, I gotta do this. She teleports right to the tower, same place that Bam did in the beginning. One thing that we realized, though, right off the bat is that she was not chosen to come to that tower, nor did she do it from her own power. So, again, we have not read the Webtoon to know anything. So, apologies in advance if we sound silly on some topics. I can only just go off conjecture and opinion and predictions. But anyway, so she gets there. And she didn't get there on her own accord, right? So what I could only assume as a viewer, at least this is where my head's at, is that Bam had placed her there. Either that or she was, no, because I was going to say she was pulled there for the exact reason. Well, no, they say in the episode, he says in the episode, like, you're not special, you're not the one that was chosen, it was him.
Yeah. And, like, essentially, she took his, like, his initial, like, his place, but she wasn't the one that got picked, it was Bam. They literally just like missed, you know what I mean? Like, because then when she's
in as that?
Yeah, because then remember when she's in the thing and he's like, and she's like begging and pleading or whatever, and he's like, shut the fuck up, and puts her in like the veil of Shinsu or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, don't worry, here comes your savior. Like, they were trying for Bam. This was a gotcha game. They were pulling for Bam, and they just got Rachel the first time.
Okay,
like,
that's actually hilarious.
And that's why she, like, that's part of, I think, obviously unjustifiably, but part of where her hatred comes from is that, like, through the whole episode, you see that Bam is, in Rachel's eyes, Bam is slowly taking everything that Rachel wants. And like it all started from that very moment when she thought she was chosen, but then, come to find out that basically from the gate, no,
That's
like Bam was chosen. He's the star. He's
That's
the one
hilarious.
that like, that everything was centered around.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I probably looked into that a little too deeply, and I thought that being that Bam is as special as he is, I thought that because Rachel wanted that more than anything, like Bam was like kind of, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
like
there
he
was an
gave it to her,
influence.
he
Like
tried to give it
it
to
was
her?
like he unconsciously like kind of teleported her there, not even realizing it, and then once he chased her. But actually, that way it makes way more sense. What you just said is basically we missed. I'm sure it goes a little deeper than that, but I mean, like whatever, or not, who knows? But that's actually kind of hysterical now that I see it like that. But so she goes there. He tells her that unfortunate news, and she's like, wow, I am pathetic. And she's like, please let me climb it. Just please, please, please. Acting like a sobbing, just terrible, miserable human being right off the bat. Mr. Rabbit Man is not fucking having it. He's like, you are fucking sickening. He's like, you're pathetic. He's like, okay, sure. You're disgusting, but let's give you the eel test. She's like, I'm not passing this test, right? Which again, stark contrast to Bam, who says that it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to pass this test, not I can't or whatever. Like, I'm going to. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I've already made up my mind, right? Whereas Rachel already has doubts. So he says, okay, puts her in the Shinsu veil, like you were saying, Isaiah. And basically at this point, I guess she sees Bam go through this initial test, get the Black March, do all that kind of stuff. If anyone has any more information, like one of you guys, is she like on the sidelines?
He didn't uses the veil to hide Rachel from Bam's sight, because remember when he says, don't worry, your savior's coming. It, again, essentially what I love about this episode and what I love about this, like, and makes me hate Rachel even more, is like there are so many opportunities that are shown to her that, in my mind, in every rational, non-psychotic piece of shit's human mind, I would think are moments that are shown to you to make you realize, hey, this dude's got what it takes and he clearly fucks with me. I should fuck with him if I want to get to the top of the tower. Like, that was what that was. He literally hid her from sight to prove to her how much more special Bam is than her, because where she immediately had casted doubts and was looking for not pragmatic, like the more logistical way out of this and trying to get to the top for herself, Bam instinctively took the test because he instinctively knew that if he did it, he could get to see like literally it was this flaunt of like, look, this is how much better of a person Bam is than you. Like, where you were sitting here bitching at the gate, this nigga rolled in with a sword that he like didn't know anything about, like literally just off the whim that he was going to get to see you. That was enough for him, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, again, it's like we go through this whole episode where you see moments like that, from the test to the cafeteria to when she gets, well, now we know, like, it wasn't fake stabbed, but like attacked by Ho and all that stuff. It's like all these moments that in my mind, like as I'm watching the episode, are cultivating to like, damn, like it just reminded me, I'm like, Bam is really this nigga, bro. He's really like this whole ass dude. Like, this is the boy. Bam is the man. Hashtag Bam is the man. But meanwhile, what I was seeing apparently is not what we're supposed to be seeing, because Rachel over here is just like, wow, fuck this nigga. And it's like, Rachel, he literally has saved your life more times than like you. What's wrong with... I can't.
Well, it's hard because obviously she's given the ultimatum. The warden says if you want to further progress in this tower, you pretty much need to off Bam, so that was...
Yeah, but fuck the tower. What the fuck is at the top of the tower that you're like, I'm going to kill this nigga? It's like, bro...
Emotions are running high on this one.
No, I agree with you fully. I just want to flesh out like Rachel a little bit more. That's the ultimatum she is given, and obviously, she's contemplating going through with it, like throughout the entire series. Like, that's why she's very standoffish. She seems like she's into Bam sometimes and off of it, because she realized that at the end of the day she needs to kill him to progress. And she even recognizes it at a point where her whole intentions of climbing the tower, or a part of it at least, is she wants to be the star that shines the brightest, and she wants to be special. And she even says in the episode that Bam is the only person who has seen her as someone who is special, and obviously she feels that connection, and that's what makes it hard for her to kill him throughout the many opportunities that she has had. Like that is what is almost like she can't make up her mind. She's very fickle. She's like, I need to do this, but I know that he's the only person who thinks that I'm special. You know, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. But my whole thing that, like, innately just makes me not like her is the fact that she's not ignorant enough to where she doesn't recognize it and she's just going off of, you know, the full greed of I don't care about other people, fuck it. She's recognizing how much of a G Bam is in terms of everything that he's done for her, understands that, and still goes out of her way to just pull the Uno fucking reverse card and say fuck you and just throw him under the bus anyway. It's like, you asshole.
It reminds me of that, you know, that SpongeBob meme with Patrick and the fucking and Rayman or whatever his name is, where he's where it's just Bam and Rachel and the Heaton Tower guy who's like, so you know Bam is special, yeah. You know that he's the one that can climb the tower. You know you're not shit, right? Like, you have no special talents or powers whatsoever. And she's like, yeah. And you know if you stick with Bam, you'll probably definitely get to the top of this tower. And she's like, yeah. So you still want to kill him? Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you?
Right. So wait, though. So to be fair, okay, I feel as if, and again, I think, I agree with you guys, right? Like, Rachel is a piece of garbage. I feel as if, though, Rachel, at this point, or at least from what I had seen, is almost being used. It's like a game, right? She is being used, and she completely knows that she's being used. And there's clearly more political play here, especially with Bam. Like, this is all about Bam, right? Like everything that, at least from what I could tell, everything that's going on from the highest chain down to the lowest is centralizing around Bam. So whatever they need to do to move these pieces on the chessboard around him in order to steer him in the direction that they want him to go, that's what they're doing. And I don't know if there's multiple factions inside the tower that are trying to steer Bam in one way or the other. I don't know, right? There's so much political
I'm sure
play
there
here.
are, or there will be, because like when we see at the end, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. So what I was getting at, though, is that when and I have the character list up here. I'm a fucking asshole. The rabbit. I'm sorry. I fucking commented someone. I'm like, I promise we're gonna start getting better with the names. I have a whole character sheet up here, but I'm not scrolling through whatever.
Oh, Heaton. Wasn't his name Heaton?
Thank you. Okay. That's what I'm going with. Heaton. So when Heaton brings her there, sorry, I lost my train of thought, and basically is like, okay, you got to kill Bam, right? At first, I was like, oh, okay, so this guy just like really hates Bam, right? Like that's my surface level thought. I'm like, this guy just really fucking despises Bam. But then I realized, like, as I'm going, I'm like, I don't know if that's it. Like, because he's kind of like part of the reason that he's here, right? Or like, at least that's to be assumed. So it's like, you really don't know what the fuck the end goal is here. And it's like, you don't know if he's like simply just playing with Rachel, if it's a test to Bam to see how he's going to handle it, whatever. And I think it's very interesting that game is being played. And I think as cowardly as Rachel is, I feel like she understands that to a percentage, but willfully blinds herself to a lot of it, right? And kind of is like putting a little bit too much, she's given herself a little too much credit in terms of what she's capable of, in my personal opinion. I do want to get back, though. Gavin, what were you saying? What was your second point there? You were talking about how, where she's conflicted, right? So I want to get back to this. So it's actually an interesting point because, again, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a shred there. Okay, all right, maybe she isn't terrible. But then the more I started to think about it and the more I watched it, I was like, I think she's just a coward, to be completely honest. Like, through and through from the start. I don't even think it's a matter of like, oh, I need to go back on whatever and like he's the only... I think she just honestly just couldn't do it. I just think she didn't have the balls to do it, to be honest. Like, she even says, she's like, oh, I wanted somebody else to kill him so I didn't have to, blah, blah, blah. And like, at first I mistook that for like you sympathizing for Bam. But then like, as it went on, and especially towards the end when we really saw your character shine through, I think it's just that you were a coward. I think it was Jung or Nietzsche, some philosopher, that said something along, again, paraphrasing here, something along the lines of that a man or woman isn't good because they can't commit an evil deed, right? You're not good because you couldn't harm a fly. You're good because you have the full capability to harm and to do bad, but you choose not to, right? And I think that's where, with Rachel, for me, that like really that deep-seated hatred comes from, is the fact that like I think Rachel is just bad through and through, and not only that, but a coward. You know, like I think that it's like she she's just not, she tries to lie to herself to think that, to make herself feel better, in that it's like, oh, I wanted somebody else to kill him, or I couldn't do it, or I cry, but it's really that you just didn't have the capability to carry out your own desires, and you're riding on everyone else's coattails, which just really makes you hate her that much more.
Because we know that her desire to climb the tower, you know, supersedes like literally everything else. So if like you would think it's like, okay, if you want to climb the tower that bad, like, you know, it's been stated in literally every episode almost, I feel like you have to be willing to do whatever it takes, right? That's the, you know, I feel like that's like the tagline that they advertise this Tower of God, like, you know, climbing the tower thing with. It's like, gotta, whatever it takes. But she can't, right? And whether you, to be honest, to me, it doesn't matter, right? Whether you tie that to, you know, the faint ties of emotion that she still has towards Bam, her, you know, inferiority complex of her feeling like she just doesn't, like, she's not strong enough to, or she's just like afraid, like whatever. To be honest, to me, it doesn't matter, right? What it comes down to is that she knew that she was incapable of doing this on her own, like straight up 1-for-1. Literally, when Hedon asked her, he's like, all right, you know what? Like, I think, he's like, I don't think you're hot shit, but you know what? Your stupidity, like, has me curious. Tell you what, you kill Bam, I'll let you climb the tower. The first thing she does is ask for a weapon. She doesn't ask for anything else. She doesn't say anything else. She asks for a weapon to kill him because she knows that she can't do it, like, you know what I mean, 1-for-1 on her own. And the whole, you know, plot from that moment on is this whole intricate plan to put them in a situation where she can kill Bam. And it's like, there is just no saving grace for me. There is no like, oh, well, she was thinking this, or like, oh, it's because clearly she's been driven crazy, right? And there was even a line, you know, at the way end, at the red-haired girl who, you know, random shout out to this girl because she just been kind of like doing her own thing this whole time.
Wait,
and,
I
like,
got you. Ryun.
Ryun? That's her name?
Yeah. I'm on it. All right,
she's
sorry.
she's cool. One little fun fact that I've actually heard is apparently the artist, like, or the creator of Tower of God, that's his favorite character. I don't know if that's his favorite character, period, or if it was a thing where it was like that's his favorite character to draw and like write scenes with or something. But I heard that like somewhere on in my research of the show at one point, and I thought that was interesting. One, because it alludes at least to me that she, and in this episode kind of states it, like clearly she has a much bigger, you know, sort of behind the scenes, you know, kind of in the style of the administrator role to play in all this, because she, you know, she offers to train Bam at the end of this. But like, my thing is, if clearly like this tower, right, and the concept of it, its existence, and whatever the fuck is at the top of this thing, has driven Rachel mad. It's driven her crazy, right? It something about, you know, that promise has made her willing to literally risk everything and put everything else one notch below getting to the top of this tower. And my thing, what's crazy is that like nobody even knows, right? Like this is the classic, you know, sort of, I guess, like psychological game that like you play in a situation like this, where it's like you've got all these people fighting, killing, like going back on their principles, their morals, their ideas, whatever the fuck, right? Because they have to do whatever it takes to get to the top of this tower, but nobody knows what's up there. You could get up there and just get axed, my dude. Like, you know what I mean? You don't know what's up there. You don't know that what's up there is worth all of the risk that you've taken. You don't know that getting to the top of this tower is going to make up for the fact that you had to discard your humanity and your dignity to get up here. And so, to me, and like, again, this is personal conjecture because, like, obviously, you know, we're two different people, but like, that doesn't cut it for me. You know, you can't make me betray everything that I believe in, people that I like, just for the promise of something, you know? So it's like, but I have a very, and I can't stress this enough, very thin thread of, you know, line that's tracing Rachel's logic, where it's like, she's lived in, you know, the literal depths of nothingness for so long that to her, this promise and this idea of, you know, power or you know, like becoming a god, control, whatever, is strong enough. Like that dream, that promise is so strong, like in her mind, that she is willing, you know, that she's like, all right, fuck, like she would rather get up there and it literally be like, you know, a fucking gift card to whatever, than like live the life that she was living down in the, in those caves, which like, again, though, just pisses me off even more because it's like these whole fucking 12 episodes have shown you that there is a third option. There's another life that you can strive to fight for, and it's a life with Bam and all these other niggas who have just become like the unit. And I just I don't want to go off again, but I can't.
I think I was talking to Gavin about this before we started recording because we were just fleshing some stuff out, and I think that Rachel doesn't. And again, this is just prediction here. I personally think that the top of the tower is actually almost a load of shit. Like, I think that there is a top of the tower and that there's probably some cool shit up there. Don't get me wrong, right? Or maybe there's like, here's Jihad, let me poke you on the forehead, and now you're that much more powerful. I don't know, right? I don't think that it's like literally you become the god. I don't think it's that. I think that in so much as climbing the tower, the strength that you need in order to ascend to the top is basically what makes you the god in and of itself and what makes you the star, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah,
it's like,
100%.
if you've reached this point now, it's like you shouldn't need to try and reach for some higher power because you are it.
There's
my
nothing
dude.
else to gain.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Exactly. It's like you
by
made
it's
it.
definitely one of those things where it's like, congratulations, you made it up here. Like, sit on the throne. Like it's definitely one of those things where it's like the journey is the quote unquote like the prize.
Exactly.
Like, that's
and I
what
think,
you are. The power you obtain is like that's what.
And I think Rachel doesn't. And again, I could be dead wrong on that. So don't crucify me, right? I could be wrong. Yeah, you could go up
fine.
there and it's like literally your god, right?
These are predictions.
These are predictions. So, but what I'm saying is that like, I don't think Rachel sees it in that light at all. I think Rachel sees it in quite the opposite, right? In that if I attain the top, you know what I mean? Like, that's when everything comes together.
That's what I mean.
Clicks,
I feel like
right?
she's become so delusional in her desires that she really, like, everything I was just saying, she really believes that if she gets to the top of the tower, all of this will have been worth it. Everything that she has risked, everything that she has betrayed and stepped over and gone back on and whatever, every evil thought that she's had will be justified by getting up there because she'll, whatever the fuck, right? She'll become God and whatever. But like, what I loved most about this episode, number one, is the very last scene, my favorite scene. My boy, best boy Kun. They're sitting there getting a lecture, and everybody is like, all right, like, Bam's gone, fuck, we gotta, we'll have to avenge him, like, we'll have to live in his stead, we'll take Rachel to the top of the tower, like, in his stead. Meanwhile, Kun's like, I'm on your shit. I don't fuck with you. I don't trust you. And let me just tell you, I wish I had met Bam before you. I was like, this is my boy, bro. Like, tell her, bro. Tell her. Talk to him, Kun. Tell her you're onto her shit and you don't fuck with this because we don't fuck with this shit.
Rachel
oh my god, dude, I was so. And like, there's this. No, she definitely doesn't want the smoke. She can't handle the smoke. And like, there's this. Well, first off, so there's that moment, right, that emphasizes what I'm about to say, where as they're all talking and like sort of mourning Bam's loss, it's like the moment where she's in her room and everybody's like, oh man, she's got to be like, he was trying, he was doing everything for her, and like, we got to figure out a way to, like, sort of what I was saying, like, avenge him. We can't let it end like this. Meanwhile, she's in her room, like, maniacally super villain laughing, about the fact that she just killed Bam, and I'm like sitting there thinking, like, she's gone, bro. Like, this girl is just, she's gone. She's out of here. Like, she's just, if there was any actual, like, humanity, quote unquote, or anything in Rachel worth saving, it fell off with Bam. Like, when she pushed that nigga off, all of that shit fell with him. Like,
clip that shit. That's the clip of the episode right there.
Yeah, whatever was in her that was worth saving, that's gone now. What this woman here that, like, is still here, she gotta go, bro. She gotta go.
No, and I want to get into obviously there's a little more to talk about because that's roughly the first 16 minutes of the episode, which is the vast majority of it, but there is still a little bit at the end. But I just wanted to say one thing, right? And don't crucify me. For anyone in the comments or you guys, especially Isaiah, he's been very emotional in this for good reason. I was talking to Gavin about this before we started, and I would like to say, though, that I don't think that people should be so quick to so severely judge someone's actions not regardless, but although they look to be despicable. And let me flesh that out a little bit because it sounds bad. I'm not condoning for you to stand to the defense of someone who, you know what I mean, does a truly evil act or anything like that. And I don't agree with Rachel. I think, like I stated, she's a total coward and she's the worst kind of scum. But I would like some people to look at themselves and have some introspection and some honesty with themselves when it comes to something like that. Now, granted, we're not in an anime world here, right? We don't have a Tower of God. We're not trying to climb to the top or whatever, right? Like, take your pick. So it's kind of hard to give, you know, a relatable example. But I think that there are situations like this that present themselves on a much smaller scale in everyday life. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people pull a Rachel, for lack of a better term here, where they do decide that whatever their aspirations were, whatever trumps any sort of love or friendships or relationships that they have made down the road. Now, I don't think this is everyone. I would like to think it's a minority of people, but nevertheless, there are people that do it. So I think that when someone is quick to condemn Rachel for what she has done, I think that they should look inward and really present themselves with the question, what would I have done? And you know what I mean? And there's really no way of knowing that answer concretely. You could think you know until you're presented with a similar situation. So like in terms of this, right? You know, if you, again, her logic is flawed, but like if you're presented with the option of like, you know, what you think, right? Because it doesn't matter what's really at the top. It's what Rachel thinks is at the top, right? Is really what's into question here. So like if you're presented with whatever, take your wildest dream, immortality, you know, regain your youth, have the person you love you back, whatever. Like how much are you willing, you know what I mean, to give up in order to attain that goal? And are you willing to discard those that like friends that are close to you and stuff? And I don't think that it's the right answer to say that you should discard those things, but I think there's more people that would pull the Rachel decision than they think. So I think it opens up some interesting conversation is all.
That's just the point, is that for me, the reason that I condemn Rachel so heavily is because these, at the end of the day, these are characters. And what I mean by that is that the point, in my mind, in my humble opinion, the job of these characters is to influence us in one way or another, right? And the way that they do that for me is by presenting a system of beliefs and, moral and a blueprint, if you will, for how they as a person live life. And Bam and everybody, well, actually, let's exclude Bam, because Bam is like, he's kind of the bright protagonist who can't do any wrong. But what I want to focus on is literally everybody else in the tower, because literally everybody else that we have met that's climbing this tower that isn't Bam or Rachel started out like Rachel, right? They started out alone. They started out isolated. They started out very narrow-minded. They started out in the belief and in the mindset that if I climb this tower, if I get to the top of this tower, whatever they ask me to do will have been worth it. Whatever I have to do will have been worth it. I don't fault Rachel for her initial belief system of why she wanted to get to the top of this tower. What I fault her for is being presented with a clear ultimatum that is designed to do nothing but strip her of any dignity and humanity she has left, and not even hesitate to pick like that side, to choose that answer. Because sure enough, Rachel saw the same thing that everybody else saw when it came to Bam, right? When it came to meeting him, interacting with him, and everybody else had a change of heart. I agree that I'm sure there are people in this world who would, pull schemes or fuck people over or whatever to get ahead. But there is a difference, a very clear difference in my mind, when you fuck somebody over versus if you are willing to kill them, right? Because one of those things, if you do to somebody and it goes poorly, there is a path that you can go back to and be like, I need to make amends. This was wrong. But when you take somebody's life, when you show that you are willing to take a life almost without hesitation to achieve those desires, you wane no sympathy from me. This to me, my hatred for Rachel, which is very severe, has nothing to do with the fact that of the mindset she was in, because everybody who climbed the tower was in the same exact mindset of her except for Bam. My beef with Rachel stems from the fact that she was given the same opportunities and the same light that everybody else was given, and willingly turned away from it. Willingly said, that's not good enough for me. What matters more to me is the power. What matters more to me is the top of this tower. So to me, that tells me that you have no ties to anybody here, or you don't have strong enough ties that everything everybody's doing, none of this matters to you. And like that's where I draw the line.
Well, that makes sense, but I think another thing to look at is it's also the nature of the tower. Like, I remember way back when we were recording an episode, I was literally flaming fucking Enderosi because I thought she was a fucking, like, flaming bitch because of all the shit that was going down. And literally someone in the comments was like, no, you're an idiot. This is literally the nature of the tower. It's meant for everybody to grow for their own selfish gain, and it's their greed, and literally everybody backstabs each other. And like historically, that is what the tower is based off of. It's literally like a free-for-all one-man fight. It's you or yourself, and obviously that was displayed how everybody was prior. And what I feel like has happened is the tower, at least in recent years, probably before the last irregular showed up where shit really got rattled, for the time being, this mindset that he has really never made any change, like never made any physical changes in the tower before. This is the first time test administrators and other people have seen this change in people by having a person like Bam actually able to change the mindset of the people taking the test to not be just for selfish gain. You know, they all have each other's backs. Well, not all of them. You can make arguments for individuals that still might have selfish gains, but you know what I mean. Where for the most part, this group is pretty tight knit together, and I feel like a character and a test administrator or a ranker, I should say, who understands this, and I feel like who is also moved by this whole change is Lero Rowe. And me and Ian were talking about this beforehand, but Lero Rowe, after seeing everything that happened with Bam, he quit his job as being a test administrator, and obviously he had that interaction with Quaint Blintz when he was like, yeah, you're gone too, and do you want to come with me? I'm going to climb the tower and search for truth. So my whole thing is, I mean, rankers, from my understanding, is they've already made it to the top of the tower. So I don't know why Lero Rowe would climb it again. If somebody wants to clarify it, me and Ian went over it. We didn't really understand it. But even further than that, if he's been to the top on top of the tower before, say he has, then obviously I don't think they would give you god power like you guys mentioned before, because then you would just have a bunch of people who are OP. I feel like there'd be more of a power struggle. But either way, I feel like there might be some aura of truth to where you can ask this being and it'll give you any answer that you want. It might not give you raw power unless you are specifically a chosen one in which the power is bestowed, and that's who I think Bam is, and why you don't want him to go to the top of the tower, because if he does, he is actually one person who is physically able to attain godlike power, because not just anybody can. It's only one specific person, and that's if Bam climbs up to it, then shit will go rocky. And other than that, for anybody else who climbs the tower, they might not get raw power, but they're able to get some insight into aspects of their life. But at the end of the day, I feel like I can't fault Rachel too much, because obviously she's a shitty person for every reason that you've explained, and it's completely right. But at the end of the day, I also do feel like it should be an understanding that this is actually the nature of the tower and what it's meant to do to people, you know? And not only is she a bitch for what happened, but everybody else, even prior, has also had that mindset. And even though she's had this option to change, I'm sure there's hundreds of people who had also teamed up with someone and built a relationship, but at the end of the day, they were locked in a room and said, yeah, you need to kill the other person to get up to the top, and they didn't even hesitate. Same thing. Fucking didn't matter if you're best friends or not. Killed it for their own personal gain.
Yeah,
so,
I think you're totally right. I think both of you, and I think what makes, I'm thinking about it now, and I think what makes Rachel even more despicable, and because she's not, in a sense, she wasn't all that different, right? You guys explained that from a lot of the other, if not all of the contestants, omitting Bam at the beginning of this. And I think, again, kind of like what Isaiah said and what you're saying too, Gavin, is like what makes Rachel so despicable is that it's like in spite of every chance to try and see things better, or to try and strive for a better future, which all of these other testing contestants are going towards, or at least the vast majority of them, in so much as they met Bam. Like, she's just like, fuck that. You know what I mean? She's like total snake mode. So it's like, I think that's what makes her the worst.
I don't deny the nature. Like that's an obvious thing, right? Like that's why everybody's character is set up the way it is at the beginning, because that's everybody's mindset is, this is the world we live in. If you're not willing to do whatever it takes, you're not getting anywhere. But it's not even the fact that like Bam has told Rachel this. Rachel, there's proof. Rachel has seen time and time again each and every one of these people turn that mindset around. That same exact mindset that she had, she has watched each and every one of these people, again, not like every single person, but like, you know, like you said, you can probably make an argument for a couple, but for the majority of this group, she's watched them all slowly come to his aid and turn their way of thinking around of not me, but us. And like, I mean, you even say it like with Enderosi. Dog, if we could turn Enderosi's heart around, like, I don't get it. If somebody who was as ruthless of a person as she was growing up, if she could see the light, if she could see that there is a point in this group, that there's a purpose here beyond what's at the top of this tower, like, again, she gains no sympathy for me. I've got no points for her because
No, for
I
sure.
I don't fuck with it.
No, for sure. She's just rotten through and through. She has a heart of stone.
She's just weak. That's what
Yeah,
it is. Like, you know what I mean?
rotten weak.
She was given so many points, like I said, to change and to reflect on what she wanted, like why she was doing this. In every opportunity, she turned away and said, "No, I want that power. I still need that power. Like that's all I want." And it's like that's just weak. That's just weakness to me.
For sure. Basically, Rachel sacrificed her best friend to buy a lottery ticket. Is essentially what happened.
She did, like literally.
She might just blank. You know what I mean? Like that's what she did. And it's like, yeah, she's just rotten through and through. And I can see why people hate her so much. And again, I don't know, but apparently the hatred grows even more. So I'm like, oh,
dude, I don't even see
jeez.
how. Like, what more can you fucking do, you little bitch?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh
It gives me really, spoiler alert, it gives me really like Griffith vibes from fucking Berserk. Like Rachel's character probably dumbed down, at least for the time being. And it's like that, yeah, those kind of people are just like evil, fucking through and through evil. It's like, you can't like them, even if you try. It's like, you gotta be like, you gotta have something wrong.
I guess
you
it's
can,
like,
you
but
can
like
understand a little bit
what
of where
gets
they're coming
me
from,
is
but
like,
you're just not gonna like them.
Like Griffith is like he's got a foot of his own to stand on, right? When it comes to what he was doing, because he has like, you know, he doesn't have like the power that he wants, but he has like the ability to make changes in the world that like towards the direction he wants to, right? And he had the ability to influence people, as you clearly saw, like, you know, throughout the show. Rachel doesn't have anything. Like, she has no claim or stake in any of this power or because she has nothing. So it's like, when you see somebody who is in that position and willingly decides to just stay in the smaller, it's like, why? You don't even have, like, what do you, it's just so much like more evil in my, it's so much,
No, she's fucked up. No, believe me, I just see parallels, but she's rotten through and through. But real quick, I wanted to talk about, okay, so Gavin briefly brushed over the fact that Lara Rowe, because there's like another 5 minutes of this episode where some cool shit goes down. So Lara Rowe just straight up doesn't even put in his 2 weeks. He's just like, I'm gone, I'm out, right? He's like, I'm quitting my 9 to 5, and he's like,
in his 2
and
weeks.
he's like, by the way, to the other one, he's like, you're fired. And the guy's like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, you want to follow me or what? I'm going to work at Starbucks. But no, like, he fucking follows him. And so he's out, right? So he's out. Lara Rowe, badass character. I really am curious to see where his arc goes, because he was very interesting from the beginning of this show. And now that
I love him, dude.
You know, it's like it shows something about his character, because it's like, these rankers are not stupid, clearly, right? Even the ones that seem to play off that they're stupid, they're not. And I would say it's almost ridiculous to say that they don't know that there's some sort of political game that's going on. But it would also be, you know, ridiculous to say that, obviously, or it wouldn't be ridiculous, I'm sorry. It would also be, I'd be remiss not to say that most of them play along because there's a higher power, right? Like being jihad. So it's like, okay, as powerful as we are, we know there's bigger shit at play. So like, we're not even going to fuck with it. But the fact that Lara Rowe himself even seems to be swayed by Bam in some way, shape, or form, and says, fuck this, I'm going to go in search of truth, even though I probably know that there's, like, I know the shit that's going on, at least more than Bam does, says a lot to his character, for starters.
I think it shows like a level of, and like, you know, as we've spent this episode shitting so poorly on Rachel's shitty character, it shows a increase and like of morale in his character, that as a ranker, as somebody who's been through the role, you know, once, for him to watch everything that's happening and be like, no, this isn't right. Like, this isn't like, I mean, we even see it. We've seen it in every episode, right? He's one of the only people that has actively been judging and critiquing the administrator's choices and like what's going on here, right? He's the only one who's been like, well, why are you doing this? What is the point of having so and so do, you know, X, Y, and Z? And like, so we know that he's been on the you know, let's just call it like the suspicion radar with the administrator, right? They haven't been like, you know, buddy neck and neck, because he every time he'll do something, what's his name again? Leroy.
Lero.
Lero
Just call him Ro.
Is one of the only ones who's been like, yo, what are you doing? You know, like kind of calling him on his shit. So, but it as a ranker, as somebody who who, let's just say, definitely knows more than the people, you know, the group being tested, could very easily be like, you know what though, that's the way the wind blows. Like, you know, why push the rocks in the wrong direction? Like, you just gotta roll with the punches. But like, for him to actively be like, no, I can't. Like, I can't accept this. No, like, something's going on here, and I gotta find out what the fuck. This isn't right. You know, like, is such a boost in his character for me, because it's like, all right, I fuck with you, Momi. I fuck with you, bro. Like, you are a man trying to get to the truth, and you understand, like, you know, at least enough for me, like, right and wrong, like when something is just plain wrong to do, and like him, because I think he knows that Bam's not dead. I think of like the probably 3 people, I want to say, maybe 4, that know Bam's not dead, he's one of them. And I think that while he knows that Bam's not dead, like, what they're like, I forget which one. Somebody was saying before, this is just a game to like the Heat-Ons of this tower and the administrator, and even probably Jihad. Like, Bam, like we said, Bam clearly is special, and he clearly has potential, and it probably has the gift, or the, you know, has been chosen or whatever, to be the one that if he gets to the top of the tower, like, Bam, God, that's it, boom, like, we're done. So I would wager a guess that the administrator, Heat-On, Jihad, like all of them, whoever, are using these tests as a way to play this game with Bam, and to see if he's got what it takes, to see just how much of a threat he is, just how much of a threat he could become. And in that, though, they are toying with this man's life, right? They are essentially putting Bam up to bat at a game that he didn't sign up to play. And I think Ro sees that, and he's like, no. You know, I think for a while he's seen that and has sort of been like investigating it, right, and like thinking about it. But like, seeing this, that they were willing to just be like, yeah, no, like, fuck it, throw him off or whatever. Like, I think that was the over the line for him, and he's like, no, this isn't right. No, you know. So I love it.
Big kudos to him. And then real quick, so you already went over it briefly, but Kun, he knows something's good because he's the man. He's like, you know, he really cared about you. Yeah, I know. No, you don't know. You know, I was like, damn, dude, Kun, you are just the fucking goat. Yeah.
Kun, my boy.
We don't even have to go over that. Everyone knows Kun's the fucking goat. But so anyway, sends a administrator or whatever, says a prayer. Poop. All right, they're up to the next level, I guess. All right, they're out. Yeah, literally, he's like, I'm gonna say a prayer. Bam. Yeah. And then just go
Shout
up.
out for the homies.
So yeah. Anyway, so then we go to like our final scene, which is when Ryun goes to Bam, who is now like under or inside a cave, like under the water, whatever. He was preserved in a Shinsu bubble, from what it looks like, to live, obviously, because this all centralizes around Bam. And so she goes to him, and she's like, hey, you want to climb this tower? And he's like, well, what's going on?
Way to fall there, my nigga.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, and he's like, because the first thing Bam asks is, how's Rachel? He's like, where am I? How's Rachel?
Yeah, and it's like, nigga,
she's like, you poor simp. She's like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, she's like, you possess the power that everyone wants so desperately. Like, why is that on your mind? And Bam, like a G, is like, I don't care about that, right? Like, Bam, the antithesis of everything that this tower tries to teach, just like a G. And basically, you know, she's like, you know, Rachel pushed you off that thing, right? And then he remembers, right? And he's like, and Bam really doesn't have much of a response. He's just like kind of shell-shocked by the whole moment, right? So she basically tells him, listen, if you want to know the answers, because Bam says, I need to know, she's like, then climb. She's like, you have to climb. She's like, the answers you seek are at the top of the tower. And then Bam, and this is like my favorite part, and this is just kind of wraps up with a bow everything that we've been talking about, and the total antithesis to Rachel's character, who thinks that the top of the tower means everything. Bam basically says, hang on, and I want to get here because I want to quote this specifically. He says, if you seek the answers, I'll train you, blah, blah. Fuck it. Never mind. I already rewinded. He basically says that he's like, I'll find the answers, but they're not at the top. Essentially saying that it's like,
he's like, I'm going to find the
find
answers
through, and
I'm going to climb the tower to do, like, I'm going to climb the tower to find those answers. I'm not going to get the answers by climbing the tower. I'm climbing the tower to get the answers, which is, like you said, a great flip on Rachel's sort of whole, mental premise here about what is at the tower, what's worth, like, getting at the tower. Bam, Bam is, he got that protagonist energy, bro. Bam is, everybody's like, nigga, you got to go right. He's like, but nobody's going left. Why is nobody going left? And it's like, he
dude,
just,
for real.
he is, if anybody is going to, if like, it takes a good man, right, to actively see, like, people doing wrong and stepping on top of people or whatever you want to call it, and like intervene, right, and say no, like, this is wrong, stop, like, you're doing wrong. But it takes like a special kind of man to see good in those people doing wrong, and I think ultimately that's where Bam's like that's where Bam's character shines for me, because as I've stated, you might have gotten the impression in this episode that I'm not Rachel's biggest fan. But with everything that's happened, I wholeheartedly believe that Bam does not agree with that. That he does think that there's something in Rachel worth saving. And with Bam having the, perspective, ability, whatever you want to call it, to see that, where most people, understandably, like I said, myself included, have been like, no, that's it, she's done, like, with me, fuck that bitch, has been like, no, but I've got to know why. Like, again, she even tells Bam, or, it's paraphrasing, but she has a line, something like, you're going to have to climb the tower if you want to know the reason that you guys were driven mad by this tower. Like, this tower and the promises of what's at the top have altered Bam and Rachel's perspectives, obviously both in very different ways, but altered them nonetheless, right? The Bam and Rachel that were, that grew up and lived in those caves are not the Bam and Rachel that are here right now in this tower. They even have an exchange when they're both in that Shinsu bubble, and, Rachel saying, some shit, and then Bam is like, don't worry, I'm not the same Bam, like, from those caves, right? They both clearly undergone huge shifts in their beliefs and their characters, and to the point where they're both at this, like, they're both in front of these gates, right? And, like, Bam's is, in my mind, is, I need to understand, like, why the tower is doing this to people so that I can save them, right? So that I can show them that, like, there is another way. As to where Rachel is like, I've got to get to the top of this tower because I'm tired of the life that I've lived. I'm tired of feeling weak and vulnerable and living like I don't matter. And, like, so that's why I need this. I guess when you think about it, like, the duality there is nothing new, but, like, I think it works. And I think ultimately that's what's kept me along for this show, is how well they've taken that formula and implemented it into this, like, cool new world with all these different world building stuff that, like, just fits.
Well said. Well said. But then real quick at the end, we see what appears to be a flash forward of Bam with very long hair, because every protagonist needs to also, with their character development,
That's
grow,
what happens with the training arc.
yes,
Yeah.
luscious locks as well to just be increased badassitude. So that looked dope. That's gonna be cool. And then again, it repeats like the beginning of the show when it's like, this is the tower, like, what do you desire, blah blah. And dude, I got goosebumps through and through when they fucking did that again. I was like, dude, I'm ready.
And I knew it too. I was like, they're gonna end it on Tower of God and, like, climb the Tower of God. And I was like, I got you.
Yeah, I was super stoked, especially when they played that again. I was like, ooh, I'm so down.
What
to watch
I
this now.
am curious though is there's another line that she says. I don't actually know if it's her saying it to Bam. I don't know if it's her saying it to Bam or if this is actually if it was something Hedon said to Bam and he was remembering it. I don't like recall. Somebody correct me if I'm, if you know. But when Bam's laying there on the ground, you hear somebody say to him, by the time you reach her again, like, she'll have already lived a significant amount of time without you. And so that, in conjunction with the the very last like little snippet of a scene that we get there with Bam, with his protagonist locks, having just mucked somebody's shit up. Like, I'm curious as to how much quote unquote time will have passed by the time Bam reaches up again with the rest of the crew. And I'm curious to see like how this time how this time from Bam being apart from everybody is just going to affect these dynamics, because it's one thing because all we know right now is that Bam, the person who has inspired all these people is to be the way they are and to do what they're doing, is no longer with them, and Rachel is. So like I'm curious to see like just what's going to happen, how the dynamics are going to change, who's going to have done what, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm definitely like I don't we were saying this last episode, right? Has it been confirmed that there's a season 2, or that we don't know?
I want to say that it was not 100% confirmed, but like I think it's in the works.
Okay.
I don't think there's not a date released, but I'm pretty sure they are working.
Okay, well yeah, I'm going to assume, I haven't like looked at numbers or anything, but I feel like this show, this first season has done well enough, to like garner. To validate continuing with it. I fucking want a season 2. I'd be really fucking stoked if there's a season 2. And I can't wait to get more of this story. You know what I mean? That was like the best cliffhanger ever. And it's like, all right, fuck. Now I want to know more.
I couldn't agree more. I want to make an announcement real quick, but make sure if you guys enjoyed the content today, you're liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell. Seriously, it goes a long way. We've really enjoyed making these episodes and all the episodes we make for you guys to enjoy. We love the conversation that comes along with it, so please comment your thoughts. It's been really fun to get some different perspectives, some opinions, some theories, etc. If you're listening on another podcast platform, please make sure to follow on there and hit us up on the socials. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so you can keep up to date with new episodes dropping and things like that. And if you want to take that support to the next step, you can hit us up on Patreon. That's patreon.com/AoA show. Tier star as low as $1. A lot of cool benefits that you could get from there, and it's a lot of support. Really goes a long way. And as always, all these links are in the description down below. But I want to make a quick announcement here before we end it off, and that is that obviously Tower of God, the show, is ending until further notice. But we have decided collectively to keep pursuing Tower of God, and that is through the Webtoon. A lot of people, and I mean like a lot of people in the comments have asked and said, hey, you guys should really read the Webtoon. You guys should really read the Webtoon. In the Webtoon, it's great. In the Webtoon, it says blah, blah, blah. And we hear you, and we read all of those comments. We try and respond to all of them and interact with you guys. And obviously, these Tower of God episodes have gotten great reception for our channel, and we want to continue that, not just for the numbers, but because of the connections we've made, and that's through you guys. So we're going to be continuing that. If you are Webtoon readers and you are excited to hear our thoughts, it'll be kind of comparisons to the anime, at least for the first season, and then beyond that, if it does well enough, let us know what your thoughts are on that, and please continue to tune in, comment, share your thoughts so we can continue that relationship and build on it, and hopefully we could carry it right into the next season of Tower of God. But that is the announcement. That is the episode. Those are our thoughts. Until next time, friends, we will catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Later.
Peace.
Hey folks, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our new episodes.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AoA Podcast if you want to keep up with our content or suggest new ideas for the show.
You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week to talk about all things anime.
Ninjas and samurais, blazing the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls.